What up, everybody? It's Ponzer here, and today we've got a terrible game. A game that will live in infamy for at least a while, and it's a match mode game that we played, and we were just trying to scrape together anything. Like we started off in bots, so and it's like late at night on a Saturday, so and we had played a couple 3v3s. Before this one, and we were just using some special rules. Basically, no no air was allowed. Basically, because the meta for 3v3s is just a medium air player on each side and to duke it out, and it's a pretty boring matchup. But you just need to have an air player to play meads in a 3v3 unless you have special rules. And we had played one game where it was J-Man, myself, and Teflon, and we're all pretty good players. And we played against Ramen, Kickapoo, and Spirit, and it was just a one-sided match. Like, J-Man was running around with fucking demo engineers, and it wasn't very competitive. And instead of like mixing up the teams, we're gonna go and like we played USA that game, so now we're gonna play USSR. And I think now that I realize, like, it was because Teflon had a plan, because we decided to not do no air. There's a different strategy you can use in a 3v3 with no air. That's quite abusive, especially from the USSR side. So here we go. It's just a stacked 3v3. And to be fair, we played more even teams after. We kind of split up, and we played some very actually good games. But I'm not going to show those games because this one was just funny. So yeah, plan is very straightforward. Like, I'm running for town, and we're just gonna take town. But look at what Teflon brings, and it just makes perfect sense. You know, there's not like there's no air to stop you. But yeah, it's pretty based. Like, the base department is calling up Teflon after that shit and like giving him some kind of award. And just like watch the wrecking that happens with this fucking heavy artillery. It's disgusting. It's just disgusting. And yeah, like, we get the cap. Like, they don't beat us, but I jump off immediately to decap because we want to milk them for everything that they've got. I just watched this thing. Boom, one shots, one heavy. Yeah, it's just brutal. Just brutal. And like, he's picking at him. So they go double armor, I think. Yeah, they're doing double armor and an inf, which is like a good move. And then another one gets killed. And that's some danger close shit right there. Just, and like, boom, gets another one. We clean him up and go for the cap in town. And there's just nothing they can do. And meanwhile, like, J-Man had an interesting role, like, drop. Like, he got an extra couple trucks just to get research really fast. And I send my heavy over here just to fort this up. And now we're just dropping all over town. Yeah, it's not gonna end well. It's like, we had 2 caps of town, and like, Tef gets a second heavy arty. We're both spamming direct arties, and we both miss. That's great. But yeah, it's over. It's already over. It's just not fair. Like, look at the heavy arty just going to work on Ramen. Like, you can't. Tanks are getting blown up. Like, you don't even need an air when you have fucking heavy artillery. Yeah, pulling back the tanks. Get a nice cap of research, and we're already pushing up the supermarket. And this at this point, we're like, should we slow this down or should we speed this up? Like, it's just another tank is blown up. Like, yeah, like you don't want to be dicks and yeah, it's a tough call when it's so one sided just to like crush him. Like I know from my perspective, like when you're on a losing side, like when you know like okay the game is lost, like there's no way you can dislodge them from town, and like shit like this is happening. We're like, should we really call Artie on the guy? Like the poor guy can't even get out of his spawn, and we're like, yeah, we should. Ugh. Yeah, so like if I'm in a position like this, I just want the game to be over as fast as possible. Like you shouldn't prolong it to give them a chance or anything, because it's not gonna happen. I mean, when you are behind like this, you don't want to do deep drops. You want to do like drops over here to defend yourself, and you kind of want to like, oh, I don't know. Like, yeah, this is nothing you can do. Like there's ATs all over. Like J-Man's got ATs in the death position, and he's too ranked up. Like I didn't lose a single tank yet. All my tanks are ranked up. It's just brutal. And you know, poor Ramen can't even get into the fucking town without getting RD'd. And yeah, we're going for the kill now. And they like we watch Ramen switch to something like switching off inf, not the best move. Like if I were them, I would just say fuck it and switch to air and fuck us over, like for being such a dicks. And it's funny, like you don't see this like I've never seen heavy artillery used so effectively in a 3v3 just because there's the constant threat of air. But when you think of it, it's a huge imbalance that USSR artillery is so good compared to USA artillery. Like you can't one-shot tanks with USA artillery. Like you just annoy tanks with USA artillery. So you can't do that strat on USA or NATO. So like the USSR bias is real. You know, if you ever like get in a position where you have complete air supremacy for some reason and you're playing support and you just drop a heavy arty and you can do dumb shit like that, it's pretty unfair. But yeah, that's for people who confuse my or people who think that I stack, like that's a stack right there, and it's shameless and despicable. But kudos to those guys, like that they sat through, the opposing team sat through that shit for 2 games in a row, and then we started playing serious again. So kudos to them. Like they're there to learn and like can tolerate nonsense like that shit. So good for them for sticking through it. Like a lot of people would just rage quit after getting handled like that for 2 games. Yeah, I'll do a recording of some better games later, but I thought that was funny.